Welcome to this third episode of the CO2 Mute data space prototyping. You know that in the previous episode we have created a first entity type in NGS-ILD through our ouranos-ws tool. It's called air quality observed, and air quality observed has been created from the smart data models reference, and we have changed the definition of the location to make it a geo property, and also the measurements has been defined as temporal entities, temporal properties. Sorry, and we have created some entities for and already collected some data, including temporal values for the different measurements. And also, thanks to the definition of location as geo-property, we can display the entities on a map. So now, to go further, we are going to see how to implement some new entity types. And as the CO2 Mute project will collect data coming from the air quality sensors provided by Montem, we are going to create the related entities and the related entity type. So we are going to create the air quality sensor type and also associated to the air quality sensor model. So that's what we are going to do, again from the smart data models reference. And from the smart data models repository, I have to go to the cross-sector section, and here I can find all the models concerning the device definition. And here I can see that there is the device model. So as usual, I have to pick up the model YAML reference. Then I'm going to copy the right URL, and then I go back to Uranos. So let's go to the data model definition. Here I can add a new entity type. I'm going to call it air qual sensor model. Here we are. Then also, here I'm going to specify that this entity type is an equipment model. We will see what it means later. It's based on a source type called device model, and I'm going to paste the right URL right here, and I can create my local entity type for the air quality sensor model. And then I can import, as usual now, the most relevant properties that are needed for this use case. So I just pick up a few for this demo. Here and here, and also the name, and I can import these properties. That's done. Here I have the list of my properties for this air quality sensor model. And now then I go back to the repository, the smart data models, and I'm going to choose the device one. As usual, the model YAML file, copy of the URL, and then go back to Uranos to create my own entity type. I'm going to call it air qual sensor, yeah. Then I'm going to say that it's an equipment type for my modeling. I also say that it comes from the device model, and I paste the URL. Then I create the entity type, now I have to also select the properties that I need by importing the ones from the smart data models. So just pick up a few. Okay. And yes, I'm going to take this location, of course, property, and also one very important one for this video is the reference of the device towards the definition of the model that we have defined before. So that's it for the definition of the entity types, and I can then generate a new version of my model. Just to have a look at the graphs. The graph that has been updated, so I see now on my graph that I have two new entity types, the air qual sensor model and the air qual sensor. And now I'm gonna update the air qual sensor entity type, and especially, of course, the location property. Again, to specify that it is a geo property and that it is a geographic definition, so I can save it. But also what is new for this video is that I'm going to define the ref device model as a relationship and not only a simple property, but here in the type I'm going to change it to relationships. And doing so, in ouranos, I can also specify that this relationship is toward air quality sensor model. And then I can save the changes and again create a new version of my model and see the impact on my graph. And here you see that an arrow has been added between the two entity types because it means that the air quality sensor is depending on as a link towards the air quality sensor model. Then we are ready to create entities based on this new entity type. So first we are going to create a model of device. Here I create a new entity. I'm going to add the properties for this model. So the brand name is Mountain, and then I'm gonna create a description for this model, just some generic description here just for the demo. So just put air quality sensor model. Okay, it's called CT-Prop2, and also oh yes, a link towards the documentation, so it can be a URL for this device model, and then the name of my model. And that's it for the moment for my model entity. And now I'm going to create a device, so an air quality sensor using the dedicated entity type. So the same than usual, I create my entity, I add the properties for this new entity, a location here which is a geo property, so I have to put some coordinates. Well, just put some dummy values for the moment. Okay, and now finally the most interesting part for this video, the relationship property, which is the reference to the data model. And here I can choose the ID of the model I've just created before. And now I see that in my device entity, so my air quality sensor, I have this definition of ascending relationships, and I have this list. Currently there is one entry in this list toward the CT Probe 2 model. And if I go to the CT Probe 2 device model, here I have the descending relationships, and I can have several entity type. Here it's the air quality sensor, and I have one quality sensors depending on this air quality sensor model, just the one I created, of course. So that's it for this video. It was a little bit longer than the previous one. I hope not too boring, but it was to introduce this concept of relationships. I hope it's clear for you, and we will see the following parts in the next episode. See you, bye bye.